Well, AEW president and two-time Booker of the Year, Mr. Tony Khan, did a written interview in the sports column for a website by the name of Uproxx, Uproxx. Never heard of it, but they got an exclusive interview with Tony Khan this week, talking all things Tony Khan, of course, AEW, getting into the nitty-gritty of AEW. But it was in this particular section of the article that caught a lot of attention this week, as Tony Khan was talking about the upcoming media rights deals that he has with Discovery Time Warner. Will they remain on TBS or TNT? Are they going to get a bigger deal, or are they going to get a lesser deal? You know, everybody's got something to say about this because of the ratings and such. Let's go ahead and take a look at this interview here. Now, we do not have an audio version of this, so, you know, no video or nothing to play for you. So we'll just kind of take a look at the website here. This is Uproxx here. And it was down in this section over here. We got... As he reflects on the last 4 years and looks towards the future, Khan is bullish on AEW's future. As reported by Fightful, the organization's television's rights deal is set to expire towards the end of 2023. But Khan was careful to characterize AEW's future deal as a media rights deal, instead pointing solely to a new television deal. I expect a big increase in the rights for AEW programs, and we're on a good pace to make a very lucrative deal for the AEW media rights going forward, Tony Khan said. Then he was asked if he was going to launch a streaming site. He said, we've done 174 episodes of Dynamite, 80 of Rampage, and blah, 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 pay-per-views. So we've done hundreds and hundreds of hours of AEW content in our library, Khan said. I also purchased Ring of Honor last year, which is a great promotion, blah, blah, blah. So overall, AEW has access to many great wrestling events, including some events that are widely considered to be some of the best wrestling events of all time, which is true. There's a lot of interest in this library, as well as the new weekly content we continue to produce each week. And I don't think there's a lot of demand for, and I do think there's a lot of demand for the library, and it makes a lot of sense for us to try to make that AEW library available to fans all over the world on demand. So there you have it. This mixed with, look, AEW continues to make some big moves. They got their deal with ESPN. They just announced. That's Disney company, by the way. They got a deal with ESPN, an exclusive streaming deal with ESPN to stream over in Australia and New Zealand and whatever other. There's another country over there, I think, of some kind, another island nation, perhaps. But they got that exclusive deal over there. I believe they are also got that deal with DAZN to be on streaming in like some European countries and that sort of thing. Look, they're making big moves, dude. And this whole media rights thing, I know people love to troll, and people think they get a little bit of information and they let it run crazy, right? People think that ratings, they're all obsessed with the ratings. Oh, AEW can barely get over 1 million. They're not going to get a good media rights deal. Or, ooh, somebody new bought Discovery and there's new management and they're firing tons of people and AEW is going to be on the chopping block and they better be careful. And, you know, I've heard it all. I've seen it all. And I've been saying this for this entire time. And I'll say it again here because it's still going around on the internet and it still needs to be addressed. And I guess we, won't know for sure until the media rights deal happens. But I'm going to continue to iterate that AEW is going to get a fantastic media rights deal. They're going to get a raise. They're going to get more money than they're making right now. Why? Because they're still producing fantastic numbers, for one. Whether or not they can stay over 1 million, whether or not Rampage is dying a slow death over on Fridays, none of that matters because they're still ranking high in their demographics, in their time slots, on their days. Dynamite's one of the biggest shows on TV on Wednesday night, if not the biggest, consistently in the key demographics, especially. And it's on every single week, even through the pandemic when nothing was live. Nobody was doing anything live. Dynamite was live. Dynamite was doing live presentations. They have an insane fandom. They found that out over the whole Jay Briscoe censorship thing, and they got schooled with a bunch of fucking outraged wrestling fans and that sort of thing, and they quickly changed their tune on that. But look, I read, I believe it was last week, maybe the week before, I read an interview that was done with the head of Kathleen Finch, I believe her name was. She is the head of the creative over at she's in charge of all the programming that's on TBS and TNT. Let's put it that way. And she's a big fan of AEW. She says she didn't know much about wrestling, but she dived into it to learn everything she could about it, like the fan base and what they like to watch and this and that. And she realizes that they are an insane fan base that they want. That's the kind of shit that they want. That was a clear directive when the new ownership took over. We want to build fandoms. We want to build around fandoms. That's what, and they also want to build off non-scripted television because it's cheaper to produce. Look, AEW is still, as much as they're getting they have a multi-million-dollar media rights deal right now, and they will get an even bigger one. Is that they're non-scripted entertainment still. They're still very cheap to produce compared to like a TV show. They couldn't just go out and produce like a Walking Dead show. That would cost them so much more money than an AEW show. That an AEW that's drawing near the top or the top of the demographic of the entire night on all of TV. And it's still relatively cheap compared to a lot of other different types of entertainment. Sure, they could run reruns over that, but even that can get comparatively as expensive. You think those Big Bang Theory episodes aren't expensive to rerun? Friends gets paid millions and millions for the reruns still to this day. So it's a big deal. It's a big deal to have live entertainment, to have it on the cheap, to have the insane fan bases. And Kathleen Finch said in that interview that their idea, and that's why they added Power Slap. Power Slap, they said, is an experiment, but they added it because they want to find what else they can put around AEW that will keep some of those wrestling fans around. It's not, hey, AEW doesn't fit with what we're doing, so let's get rid of AEW. It's, hey, we really love having AEW here, so let's see what else we can find that might fit with AEW and put that on TV too. It's creating fucking jobs. It's creating shows. It's a genre that they want to invest in. And live television is a dying art. Sports is it. That's it. And AEW falls into that category too. It's a non-scripted television. It's also sports. And that demands a premium because it's the only thing that you have to tune in live for. If it's a TV show, you can catch the replay. Wrestling still creates that element. Sports still create that element of you have to see it happen live because people are tweeting it as it goes. There's an ongoing social media aspect to it as it's happening. People don't want to be left in the dark. They don't want to miss out. FOMO, right? They've been consistent. They're not, their rating, despite whether it can go above 1 million or not, has been consistent. There is zero reason for TNT, TBS to want to get rid of AEW, and they won't. And anybody out there that thinks that they will or could or should or, they don't like the violence on TV, shut the fuck up. They're doing just fine. Swearing on the network, Moxley swear. No, try again. AEW is in a very good position, and Tony Khan has all the reason in the world to be bullish on a new media deal. And on top of that, now, my only concern with this next part here is Ring of Honor was not able to land a TV deal. But that is different than a streaming deal. So if they are able to put together a streaming package, look, they have that entire back catalog of AEW. Now they also have the entire back catalog of Ring of Honor. And should they land a streaming deal, mark my words, Tony Khan will seek to go out and acquire the rights to other wrestling promotions. You know, look at Excalibur as a founding member of PWG. He's still heavily, I don't know if he's still an owner or co-owner of it now. There's another Dragon Mask. Is that the other guy? Or there might be multiple. I think Joey Ryan was involved at some point. I don't know if he still is. Regardless, you don't think Tony Khan can acquire the rights to PWG? And before you say, PWG, who cares? Everybody that's on TV right now came from Ring of Honor or PWG or something. If they weren't created in the PC Performance Center through NXT, mark my words, they came through Ring of Honor or PWG at this point. It's, you know, I've talked about this before too. WWE owns a lot of content library, but it's starting to age out. It's starting to, nobody cares about AWA anymore. People are, WCW is still, I guess, appealing to older fans, but even newer fans, like nobody that's on TV anymore came from WCW. People like to see, early Seth Rollins. Let's watch early Tyler Black matches in Ring of Honor. Bryan Danielson, all of these, if he can start to acquire like a PWG, a CZW, if that ever comes up, all of these newer, and they're not so new now, but everybody that's on TV now came through these territories as indies if they were on the independents. So if he can start to tap into that, he's going to create a serious rival streaming site for pro wrestling in general. And if they can just slap that right on HBO Max, the already owned streaming service by Warner Brothers Discovery. And look, they've already talked about too, HBO Max is not going to stay HBO Max because Discovery has their own streaming service too. And eventually the idea is just to move all of their programming onto one new rebranded streaming service. And wouldn't it be fucking great? Hunky dory. They already have AEW on TNT and TBS. Wouldn't it be, all I got to do is add a tab, AEW. Peacock does just fine. Look at their numbers with WWE. There's already proof of concept that streaming services, that wrestling works on streaming services, and that it earns a premium fee. There's $1 billion deal with NBC Universal to have the WWE network for 5 years, So you don't think that's a huge proof of concept? Tony Khan said that he pitched AEW to TBS, essentially, to Warner Brothers Discovery as Pepsi to WWE's Coke. We want to be a competing brand. We're not going to be the best, but we're going to be the second best. And we're going to be the first company that's been around since WCW that can afford to compete for talent, for top talent, and can afford to compete in production value and all of those things. Like WWE was always able to stay head and shoulders above like an Impact, for example, or a Ring of Honor, simply because it had the budget that nobody else could touch. Even a New Japan Pro Wrestling, they struggled to try to afford like it was a big move for what they paid for Sasha Banks. It is more than they paid for Jericho. They're not in the big talent game. That's almost like a make or break deal for them. That was a hard one for them to pull together. Tony Khan could pull out a contract for Mercedes out of his ass. Mercedes money. She can get a fat contract from Tony Khan, no questions asked. So he's got the money to compete. And that's where look, that's not just going to be in Top Talent either, as I was just saying, with the other media. Let's say a PWG's media content rights ever come up. They're going up for sale. Tony Khan's going to outbid WWE for that. Because Nick Khan's not even going to see the value in that. He's not even going to want to pay it. That's why Tony Khan was able to get Ring of Honor. You don't think WWE made an offer to buy that content? But they lowballed it because they figured, A, nobody else is going to want to buy it. So we're basically just going to get it handed to us. Like when WCW came available, who the fuck else was actually going to be able to do anything with it? Bischoff was trying to put together a deal, but Vince already had all the infrastructure. He already had the TV. TV wasn't coming with it. It was just the library. And Vince had the ability to monetize that library. Maybe they learned their lesson from Ring of Honor and they'll make stronger plays for new content that comes up. But look, at some point, these PWGs, these CZWs, even a GCW perhaps at some point will come up. And yes, these are all lower level indie promotions, but the appeal of these is not just the more wrestling content, but this was also the start of some of your favorite wrestlers ever. This was the home. If they didn't come up through the PC, they came up through some of these promotions. And if Tony has those rights, he's going to have the modern fans' eyeballs and their attention. And he's going to be able to just get more money for that streaming service. So I do expect lots of big things for Tony Khan and AEW going forward. They certainly hit a speed bump with the CM Punk thing, and that they're still climbing back from now. I think it did significantly slow them down and lower their public opinion, but they're climbing back from that, and they have the money and the production value and the content to be in the game. And I think Warner Brothers Discovery will be all in on AEW, and they would be fools to not. And I will eat the hat off of my head with a bottle of mustard if AEW either gets dropped from Discovery, Time Warner, or they get a lower media rights deal, because it's just not going to happen. You're going to get a big fat raise and be welcomed with big open arms.
Oh yeah, thanks for checking out the video. Yeah, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like it if you liked it. Yeah, and you can check out full episodes each and every Sunday right here on the channel. Oh yeah, dig it.